So now we're gonna do our filter change. Filter change, you're obviously gonna need a filter, your bowl wrench, we'll do our pressure and vacuum checks again, and you need an O-ring. We are not gonna use the maintenance tray Allen key on this one because there's no need to do it. So to start the process, again, let's hook up our service tube. And this time, we're gonna go into maintenance, and we're gonna hit replace filter. Now notice, when you hit replace filter, there's a memo that comes up and says, reminder, turn the pump off manually once the tanks are empty. You'll know the tanks are empty because the hose is gonna start just sputtering out water. Let that go for a little bit, and then turn off the pumps by pushing that same button. Notice halfway through our tank empty light comes on, but the pumps do not shut off. The reason for that is the sediment canister houses the level sensor, but we're emptying everything out of the filter canister, removing all the water out of the e-drill system. So you can see now we've got a very light stream of water. It's starting to sputter. That tells us that our canister is nice and empty. The e-drill is fully purged of any water. Turn off the pump by pushing the pump running button. Now it's going to ask us, are we changing the filter? In this case, yes we are, so let's hit yes. That's going to reset that counter back down to 0. Push exit, and you can turn it off again. Move your bucket out of the way. Filter bowl goes up and on. Brake torque. And then we're going to run this thing down, guiding it the same way we did before. Once you're down to the bottom, you can see our filter is there. Lift him up. We're going to dispose of him within local hazmat procedures. Get our new filter, put him into place. Check our O-ring, replace as needed. So we're going to take this thing off. We'll apply a nice bead of lube to the bottom here, onto the recess, and a nice liberal amount to our O-ring. Then we're going to seat that down inside that recess, make sure that it's not lifted anywhere. It's going to keep that good vacuum seal. Now to put this back in, simply slide it under, lift up. The way I do it is I run it up like I'm spinning a basketball on my finger. So holding up pressure here and spinning until it catches and runs up. Snug it up. We're good. Then we can turn the system back on. After the screen boots up, we'll have to run our bleed and fill cycle. We'll top off, we'll empty the sediment canister. We also want to verify that we did in fact reset that counter. So now our screen is booted up. We come in to verify, we're going to hit maintenance and info and verify that our screen in fact does read 0 on the filter. Now we've got 5,500 more cuts to go until this needs to happen again. And again, at 5,000 cuts, we'll get that 500 cut countdown until we get to 55. And then the system will log itself out after we do that maintenance. So let's top it off, get this thing primed and ready for action. Same process, I'm gonna hold the tube in, run top off procedure. We wanna witness that air bubble going up inside. We know we got good vacuum, so let it fill. Especially important when you're changing the filter out is to make sure there's no air in the system. So we're gonna run this bleed and fill 4 or 5 times to make sure we really have it purged of any air, so we have that nice solid cut. So now the tank's full. We're gonna do our bleed and fill by pushing empty sediment tank and then running the system top off again. Time to do a bleed and fill. To do that, we We hook our service tubes up, hit empty sediment tank, and witness all the water leave the system. So you can see how much air we've got in the system now because there's obviously air coming into the bucket and our lines are a little bit cloudy. So there was a lot of air in the system and now we need to purge it all out. Once it reads empty, we're going to push no on the touchscreen display here because we're not actually changing the sediment canister, we're just purging the water. And we're going to run top off procedure. Make sure our hose is in the water, hit top off, and let it start to fill. We'll need to do this 2 or 3 times in order to be sure that we get all the air out of the system. So now we did our last fill. We're gonna let this guy hang out in the water, pull a little bit extra up, make sure we're really primed and full, and we're all set to continue on cutting. So we just completed our cycle of emptying sediment canister and changing our filter out and doing a bleed and fill. Now let's get into adjusting the ground pin on the CG tool.